always say to people, when something really difficult happens to you, say the phrase, why is this exactly what I needed?
Oh, I love it. I got chills.
Yeah. And, and then people always go, huh? But then it's amazing what comes to you.
Hey, beautiful. Welcome to Naturally Empowered Living, your safe space to guiding you on your unapologetic self-awakening journey. This is your weekly sanctuary for waking up from autopilot and transforming the way you approach life through the power of meditation, energetics, and root cause therapy. It is my mission to help you heal unprocessed emotions and release stuck energies by alchemizing your struggle cycles into opportunities for deep self-love, awareness, trust, and connection, to return to your innate essence of being, stepping back into your energy of alignment. Because here, we honor all parts of ourselves, the messy and the magic, the shadows and the light, embodying all parts that make you, you. So if you are ready to get to the root of cultivating real change, get cozy, grab your journal and maybe favorite crystals, and let's discover our power within together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Naturally Empowered Living podcast. Today, I am joined by a truly inspiring guest who brings a unique blend of expertise in academics, athletics, and deep transformational work. He is a college professor, a former professional athlete, a TEDx speaker, and an author of multiple books and academic articles. From releasing subconscious limits, embracing primo holistic health habits, and changing how we conceptualize and produce food and energy, he opens the door to explore the specific steps required for personal and planetary transformation and how they often overlap. What makes his story even more powerful is his personal journey. And that's something that we were just kind of talking about before hitting record too, with how our personal journeys always bring that unique touch to what we provide and what our purpose here is in this lifetime. So I am so excited to pass over the mic to Greg Schwartz, the Planet Doctor. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. That was really well articulated. That was lovely. I'm very tired. Thank you for that intro. Makes me feel accomplished. Um,
Very much so.
Yeah, we all have things. I'm obviously a bit older than you, and I've had a little bit longer to get some things done. But yeah, I have pushed in various realms of my life, and then around age 31, actually, was when it all hit me.
Mhm.
We have our breakthrough, and it was very rough, and it was several years. And then, I had some progress in my life academically, athletically, and had always been inquisitive, but about spirituality and put a lot of time into it. But that's when I really cracked open, and
Mhm.
I had been asking for it for a long time, and I didn't realize how much I would get. But and it's not, I was gonna say it's funny. It is a bit funny, but now whenever I ask for guidance, I say, please give me gentle, clear guidance because I got way too much. And I got clear guidance and they said, yeah, you're getting the full tour, which is all the pain and all the beauty.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm well traveled in those spaces, but I don't need to go back to some of them. And
Yeah.
so, like you and like so many people probably listening, they say sort of your ability, your capacity for pain expands your capacity for joy.
Mhm.
And so I'm greatly expanded by how much pain I had and just saw behind the curtain of the
Exactly.
universe.
Yeah, and I relate a lot. And I feel like everyone, call it what you want. You said kind of breaking open, a spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call that. It's very much like, whoa, oh my gosh, like what can of worms did I just open? Because it brings you into the depths, into the shit, into like, let's bring everything up. And you said you're ready. So let's do this.
Yeah. And I was very in my head, as a lot of people are, and maybe more men are in general. I don't know if that's a stereotype, but I certainly was. And I was academic. So it was hard to get me into my sort of soul space, heart space. But I was forced to. And then I was just only there. And I was just in outer space for months and months. I didn't even know
Yeah.
what was going on. And now I can sort of access both. And I realized you got to be both.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us, we just don't realize how big and great we are. And, we're disconnected from our higher selves, and even disconnected from our bodies and nature and
Mhm.
sort of our just our we're animals and we need to experience cold and a little bit of starvation and a little bit of and you need a little bit of all of it and you have to remember that your body and you have to remember that you're a soul. And I think we live in cities and we have our routines and we think we're machines and we're not, you know. And and when we forget that, we get hit over the head and we get reminded.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So this is something that it's like a side passion of mine. I don't do this within my work, but when I kind of read about you and you explore quantum healing, and I was like, oh, like this is something I'm so passionate about, but I don't know so much about. It's like a newfound passion, right? So can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about like what quantum healing is and just a couple just like practical methods for people getting started and how to really tap into energy, shift energy, and facilitate their own healing?
Yeah. First I'll just semantically frame it. So, Western medicine, obviously allopathic medicine, has an approach that says basically your body is a machine and we're going to treat it by exogenous forces like drugs and surgery. We all know this. And that's very valuable. And for acute situations, I'm very happy that we have
Mhm.
that. But as we know, also not for chronic situations. So essentially, the body is a machine, but at first it's an energy system.
Mhm.
We are a soul, we have emotions, we have thoughts. That creates our reality. We know that created the universe. And it's so simple. Quantum healing sounds so out there, and we've all read the Joe Dispenzas and and they articulate it very well. But essentially, it's just the idea that we are an energy system first, and we have to address those things. Now, those things are so moving into our everyday lives that we dismiss them.
Yeah.
They are part of our system. So I'll get into some specifics, but if you eat a fresh apple, if you smile, if you hug someone you love, and you walk in sunshine, all of those things are quantum healing
Mhm.
because they actually, from antioxidants to the photons in the sun, they affect us at an atomic level.
Mhm.
They release certain hormones, changes your biochemistry, which changes your physiology.
Mhm.
That's quantum healing.
Mhm.
There's also, and then of course, I have a few examples, and there's also what I call, and I've never heard this term, but quantum pathology. So you can also do the same thing and move in the wrong direction.
Mhm.
Like, think bad thoughts, have negative self-talk, surround yourself with EMFs, take in a lot of toxins, expose yourself to negative news sources, whatever it is. And that moves us towards disease on a quantum level. And so, anyway, let's just look at a few broad categories. So, our words are incredibly powerful. Anyone in this space and probably listening understands that power, and getting good at using your words and the power of your words, they immediately change your physiology.
Mhm.
I should say your biochemistry. And so, one of my simplest ones, and we all have ours, is if you have a malady or an ailment, you talk to it and you say, "Welcome, thank you for coming. You're a welcomed messenger, but I need the message. What's the message?"
Mhm.
Once you get the message, then you say, "Thank you so much for coming. Whatever you are, disease, problem, you can leave now." So just talking like that completely shifts it. Some people say there was this slogan for a while, F cancer, F-U-C-K cancer. And I thought, okay, well, yeah, at a certain point, you can kind of reject it and fight back. But ultimately, that's just resisting so hard rather than saying, do you have to tell me? It's a much easier way to get a guest to leave. And then, of course, sound healing. So many layers of sound healing that shift us vibrationally. There's so many stories of sound healing in every religious tradition, even a mother humming to her child. And when we chant and hum ourselves, our vagus nerves goes right through our vocal box, heals ourselves. So sound is incredible. Even the earth, has a certain sound. Um, and so those are sound. Then there's energy healing, which I know you are proficient at. So you're talking about Reiki, pranic healing, where you use your hands, and they're slightly different. You can just imagine energy in a certain color healing your body or flowing to your body, and that's incredibly effective. Um, and Some people use, divine geometry in that, just imagining yourself inside of a prism or a different shape.
Mhm.
It's kind of amazing how good some people are at that. And then there's just nature, which we are part of this system that we cut ourselves off from. And just being around flowing water, let's say, we absorb negative ions, which by definition changes you at the quantum level. A
Mhm.
buddy of mine wrote a really good book called Blue Mind, and
Okay.
it's about how our mind changes when we're around water. Grounding, walking barefoot on the earth, recharges us, exchanges electrons, just like, lightning does. So many things. And then the last one I would say is just our body. We really forget in a physical healing way and also a quantum healing way, our posture. Tony Robbins is really good about this, and he talks about
I'm slouching right now. I'm like, ah.
I mean, it's orthopedic alignment, like going to someone who can line you up and
Mhm.
get you flowing right. If you have a system of tubes and wires and it's some machine and it's all crumpled, they're not going to flow. And that's how so many of us are. And so, going to an osteopath or a chiropractor or a physiotherapist is so essential
Mhm.
because we are machines. We're just also energetic and we forget about that. And so, but the simplest way is to choose a power pose because when you have anxiety or stress or depression, your physiology changes and then that regenerates the cycle of certain hormones, certain biochemistry, certain neurotransmitters. And so to rewire, you choose a power pose and you choose something that, you would do when you get a new job or you hit the lottery or you whatever, and you do that move. And I have my move, which is like this. It's
I love it.
not like the Tony Robbins. I saw Tony Robbins live one time and I developed it and it puts you in a different mood.
Yeah.
So these are some basic quantum healing. And again, half of them sound like, oh, that's magical. And half of them sound like, well, yeah, that's just regular life. But that's the point.
Yeah.
It's absolutely integrated into regular life. Again, drugs and surgery, they are not part of regular life. They're life-saving in some situations. I'm very happy they exist, but they should not be our go-to, and certainly not for chronic issues.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, you said so many powerful things in that explanation, but the two things that really stick out to me are like the simplicity. Like what you said, like it's very simple. It's so simple, yet there's so many, external factors and our day-to-day life. Just use that as the example, right? The hustle, the work, everything that comes at you. But it's like when you really come down to just connecting with yourself. That's something I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I'm like, just take a second to just be. Just what are you feeling in your body? Like just, like as simple as I can explain it to my children, like let's just feel for a second. And we do a body scan before bed every night because it's so easy to get disconnected to the simplicities of life.
Body scan is nice. That's a really good idea. And it's so important to teach the next generation. I have young kids too, 7 and 10, and we do energy work at night. And I have them like transmute. I'll say like, what made you happy today and what made you frustrated today? And then I take the frustration and we make it a color and then we just shoot it off into space and we let it like transform into something good.
I love it.
And yeah, and then we send, but the body scan is really good because that's, somatics and I'm gonna borrow that.
Of course. Well, I'm going to borrow yours too because Jace is my oldest. So he's kind of at that point to where I could kind of work with, okay, frustration, happiness. Let's shoot it to he's obsessed with robots in space right now. So that sounds great. I love it. And my daughter, she's like, Mommy, let's do a body scan. I was like, yes, she's ready. Like she gets it now. So I'm so excited. We just started.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. And then when that's what I like about your work so much, and it's fundamental because we sometimes when we're doing psychological emotional work we forget to connect it to the body, and so often when we're doing physical work, like if you're a trainer, you forget to connect it to the mind and heart. So yeah, it has to be whole. There are many digital scans that we use for body health, and those can help too, but I love the internal one because that really, especially when you're feeling an emotion, to where do you feel it? and it's fascinating. I mean, you can just Google it. It's like, oh yeah, anger, you're feeling it in here, and grief is
Mhm.
here, and shame and guilt is kind of in your tummy. And I don't know if you agree with those, but it kind of aligns.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. It is. And the other thing that you brought up too was, the more that we resist, even though I feel like by nature, right? Like we're created to survive. We're always like in that survival mode. Like, and I feel like if you connect with this or kind of resonate, agree with it, that survival mode mechanism of our nervous system, of our brains, it causes resistance, right? When we're kind of in this work or like wanting to bring the simplicity, the slowdown. And what you're saying is the more that you resist, obviously you're going to continue in these cycles.
Yep.
And how do you, because so many people are then, trapped in these patterns, trapped in these habitual cycles. How do you help people that don't realize, that they're stuck or that they're in these patterns, that they're running the show, right? Kind of getting into that subconscious base. How can people start identifying and being aware of, acknowledging and releasing those kind of subconscious limiting beliefs?
Absolutely. That's key. I mean, as I've evolved in how I help people, I realize the most common thing that's holding us back as a sort of a generational zeitgeist is subconscious beliefs, because most of us don't have the tools. Many of us don't even realize that that exists, and then
Yeah.
we don't have the tools to get down in there. And I know you're good at this, and we can share notes on this, but this is my general approach. I try to make it, very, very practical for people. So there are basically 5 steps the way I teach it. And this is kind of what saved me. It
Mhm.
is this roadmap. Many things did, but you choose a part of your life that feels suboptimal. It
Mhm.
feels stuck. It feels limited, whatever that is. And you got to do this one at a time. So you can't just, so you pick one. Let's say it's money or love, whatever it is. You go to your adolescence/childhood and you look for conditioning that was negative in that space. Let's say it's love for this example, and or an event. So conditioning or an event that was painful or negative or limiting around that, and you say, that experience made me create a limiting belief. What was it? You just sort of play along. You didn't even think, no, I don't have a limiting belief around it. Just play along and you say, okay, what would the limiting belief be that I created? Because, of course, our mind is protecting us. It's doing a good job. We had a painful experience and it says, we don't want you to have that again. So it creates, it's amazing. It is our soul and our mind and our body are so much smarter than us. If you drink too much, it makes you pass out because like this fool can't stop, and
Yeah.
and if you create all these painful situations, like if you grab a hot pot in the kitchen, it says, hey, don't grab any more hot pots. So you're scared of even grabbing pots that aren't even in the kitchen. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens remote is you get hurt or you see someone get hurt, and then you say, oh, well, maybe your limiting belief became love equals pain. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Or, when you extend yourself, you get hurt. Or I'm not lovable because da 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 da. Because I'm too tall, too short, too dark, too light, too this, too that.
Hmm.
And you develop that. So you write that into a simple sentence because that's how your subconscious will process it. You can't write a paragraph, you a simple sentence and take your time on that. Then from that's maybe step 3. Then step 4 is as your wise self now, you write a empowering belief that you could have created in that moment. And you have to be wise to do that because that was a protective belief, which was effective, but it protected you from the bad and the good. So
Hmm.
that's why your life is stalled there. And that inner subconscious belief is steering your whole life. And that's why you're trying and trying. It's not working, not working, not working, not working. And I just call it invisible blockages. And you think, what's going on? And so you create an empowering belief. So let's say your uncle was really rich and he said, yeah, you can't make money doing what you love. So you might as well give up now. And you always believed that. Can't make money doing what you love. And then you look back and you say, well, my uncle wasn't healthy, wasn't happy, didn't have love in his life. He didn't do what he loved and he was very financially rich. So maybe your new belief could be true wealth is being happy, loved, and expressed. That's your new belief. And
Hmm.
so the fifth step is you imagine that new beautiful belief as a color, whatever color you want, and you beam it to your young self and let it fill up that young self. And this, I truly believe, is literally time travel because then you imagine that young self going through your whole life with that new belief because those memories and those beliefs are still circulating in you as fresh energy, and you change all of them with that belief. You actually change your past, and you will feel different when you wake up the next day
Hmm.
because you've shifted. And so then you just live your life and watch things start to shift. What do you think? How'd I do? Do you agree?
Incredible, incredible. And it's so like, have you ever heard of the Center for Healing or root cause therapy?
Cross therapy, yeah, I've heard of, yeah.
Okay, so I actually, this is something that when I was little, I always would be like, Jenna, like if I was upset or something, I'd like go in the bathroom and, like sit with my hands between my knees and be like, let's get to the root. You have to get to the root. And I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. And I remember doing this, being like, okay, but why? Why am I sad? Why am I sad? Keep getting to the root of it. And so now, insert, I used to work in oncology and I like had a good, looks good on paper type, career. I worked in oncology and healthcare. And I just knew like this isn't my calling. I like when I left healthcare, because it was very like I felt a lot of guilt. And I was like, I vow to help people in their preventative health, because I felt like I was abandoning my patients. Like they were my everything. But I'm like, I vow to, like this isn't it, but I want to help people before they get to this point. And that's when I had my awakening at like 33. So it was like all this stuff. And that's when I started to like really feel into like the energy and this. And then I got certified in energy healing and then instinctive meditation. And I'm finding all these little things and like the foundations and the core, but I'm like, this isn't it. And I was like, it was like a 3 a.m. Google search. And I'm like, this is like, because I almost got into like the emotion code by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which is, releasing unprocessed emotions. But I'm like, it's not it. What is it? What is it? Insert root cause therapy. I found it. And I was like, this is it. And like those 5 steps, root cause therapy is something that I kind of guide people through that meditative, connecting with your subconscious, but taking them on that journey, very similar to those 5 steps. Very similar. That's so powerful.
It is. And that's affirming for me because this was just, again, this was the path that helped me walk out of my darkness. And I had to do this, and I did not know that this path existed. And now I
Yeah.
hear about root cause therapy and stuff, and I think, oh, good, oh, this is a real thing,
Yeah.
It's a lifeline. And then you realize it's just normal. Everybody should learn this. We should learn this before we learn geometry,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it'll help us so much more. But yeah, it's amazing. And people come to me often, again, first I was kind of a physical trainer, and then I was a sort of a vegan dietitian, meal planner, and then I was helping people in a purely spiritual space. And I started to realize, well, what I'm really good at and what I really add, because you look at the space of what needs, where can I help most and where is their need?
Yeah.
Like there's a million trainers, and I could do that. And there's a decent amount of now vegan sort of diet people, but I realized I have much more off. So what it came to was people who are stuck, people who've tried to change their body or their life, but I kind of start with the body and I just help them find their blind spots. And
Mhm.
so it might be something physical. There's so many, and I'll sort of list the most common ones that I find. And the most common is subconscious limiting beliefs because if they've tried and tried and tried to do diet, exercise, this, that, and it's not working, that's usually a big part of what's going on. Not always. But anyway, that's why I found my niche. And I thought, oh, this is what I can add. And I'm a very holistic guy. I had a big sort of athletic life, and then now forced to be a spiritual guy. And now it's just who I am, and it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Mhm.
And so I realized, okay, I can take someone as a whole being and try to help them see their blind spots. And I'm very, very, very just rubber meets the road about it. Like you're bringing in your car to a mechanic. He's like, oh, let's check this out. Bing, 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 bing. I'm right here.
Mhm.
And Anyway, if I may, I'll give you the sort of the
Yeah.
9 most common blind spots that I see. And there's no real way to order them because if when it's your blind spot, it's the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
What I will say, the first one is both trapped emotions and limiting subconscious beliefs. And I won't get into how to solve all of those. The second one is probably it's so obvious, but it's that people haven't decided to change yet.
Hmm.
They haven't fully committed. They think it's a good idea, but they're distracted, or they might even be putting money into it, but they're not committed. It's like joining the gym, but you don't go,
Hmm.
you know? That one is huge because once you really decide, the answers come, the teachers come, they come to you and they get the guidance they need, the answers come. Third, fourth, and fifth are kind of all equal in frequency. I would say very often, especially the older you get. I mean, I'm 53, and when you're over 30, but especially over 40 or over 50, you need to detox.
Hmm.
Everybody needs to, but our bodies get so full of toxic stuff,
Hmm.
and it's mostly in the lower colon, but it's also in our fatty tissues because a lot of those toxins are not metabolizable and they're lipophilic, and
Hmm.
so they go into your fatty tissues and they're stored in there and they're stored in your lower colon. So there's ways to get rid of those because things just don't happen right when you have those toxins in you. And I have some basic protocols for that. One of them that's really overlooked is colon hydrotherapy, getting a colonic, just flushing out your lower colon. It's euphoric to get that out of you in a 45-minute session.
Hmm.
Next is hormones, I would say. We have chronic stress, we have toxic, highly processed diets, we have endocrine disruptors. Those have changed our hormones. Women are having their puberty earlier. Men are losing testosterone at 1% per year on a society-wide level. And so there are basic protocols for that, but often we don't realize we are having those issues. And then I'll come back to posture. It's amazing when people go, if you find a good chiropractor or osteopath,
Hmm.
it's like a new body when you walk out of there. Now you have to do the movements to keep your body in that good alignment. You can't just get popped in it because you just go right back. But getting sort of nudged into the right direction is can be unbelievable.
Hmm.
Gut health is always big. So many of us have issues with that. And the crazy thing is all these solutions are synergistic. So if you eat a whole food diet and you're improving your gut, you're improving your hormones, you're detoxing. So just simple things like that, they all, if you do the right thing, they move you in the right direction. And for instance, drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, those are not synergistic. Those are targeted.
Hmm.
Those can shift some symptoms, and in the short term, that might be life-saving, but they create other problems, and it's not synergistic. Next is probably just stress. We have too much chronic stress and not enough acute stress.
Hmm.
In the past, you're running from a tiger, or you're walking in the snow for hours, or you can't eat for 3 days. I'm talking thousands of years ago. That's acute stress. That's good. Our bodies really respond to that. But we have this physical comfort and psychological and emotional stress. So it's chronic stress and not enough acute stress.
Hmm.
Yes, diet and exercise. I mean, if people don't have that dialed in, it's not good. Like if people come to me and if a 50-year-old woman comes to me or a 20-year-old man, they're going to get a very different diet and exercise plan. Because you can be counterproductive if you're in sort of a hormonal shift time. And then last, I would say personal boundaries,
Hmm.
and time management, because you can just drain your energy in those ways. That one was one of the last ones that really came to me because I was looking, and when you don't, as you know, when you're assessing someone and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up. You're like, there's something else here that we're not looking at.
Hmm.
And pretty commonly, people will have boundary issues or time management issues. And I kind of say it this way: if you don't take charge of your day and your life, then someone else will.
Hmm.
And so you have to decide what you want to do with your day. Now, it doesn't always work that way, and God and the angels will sometimes, push you another way, but you have to have a plan and you have to have some kind of regimentation. And those are the 9. And actually, what's interesting to me, and I would love to hear your take on this, is to be productive, we have to have some, work ethic and have some scheduling and be on top of things. And yet to be spiritually attuned, you have to be open and available and ready to change at any time.
Mhm.
How do you personally, or in your coaching, or have you ever thought about that? Or how do you think about that?
Have I ever thought about that? Well, am a stay-at-home mom and have this business. So that is where kind of the part of your bucket of, okay, this is what I have to take control of. I could work during nap time. This is what I have. And it was a very hard realization for me if my kids were sick, if they weren't napping, neither one of them slept well. So like that was a lot of the push and pull that I really struggled with. But then when I like it may have been days later and it's like, okay, Jenna, this is my time to meditate. And what would always come to me? They need your presence. It's okay to rest. It's okay to slow down. So it was always like I would feel the guilt, I would feel the force, the resistance of like, why won't you just nap? I need to do X, Y, Z. And then the next time that I would kind of just get to USA, as my son calls it, Mom, we need to go USA. It's like, that message, it's like, well, darn it, and so then you learn for next time of to go with the flow. And I know this might not be answering your question, but it's just like the constant, the ebb and flow of, yes, this is my schedule. However, if something comes up, there's always a reason. There is always a reason why, I can't go from my, 9 to 5 or whatever my schedule is saying. If something pops up or gets, a wrench in it, okay. Like there's a reason for it. And if I need time to sit with it in a little bit to figure out what that reason is, that's fine. But right now, this is my present life and this is where I'm at, and I have to be fully present with it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's a great answer. Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
Um, I'm an extremely structured guy, and then when I got my awakening, I became completely unstructured.
Hmm.
I mean, I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. And then, obviously I found a balance again. I'm a full-time professor. I live and I work. And I'm back to being structured. But basically, I find time within that. I set a structure as a suggestion.
Yeah.
And then, yes, things hit you. And often things will hit me in the middle of the night, like many of us. I'll wake up and there's a different vibe at night. And I just know it. And my wife's very attuned to this too. She said, if you're up, there's sometimes physiological reasons, but very often it's spiritual. And I'll just come downstairs and let it hit me. And it's something amazing. It's always something amazing.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but the last few months have been a lot of shifts on the planet. And
Yeah.
my wife and I have had big shifts. You
Yes.
too?
Yes.
Big.
Yes.
And, but yeah, a lot of middle of the night, 3 hour sessions. And, um, and those are so beautiful. And knowing that feeling, oh, here comes something magical, I have to make space for it, is such an important skill.
Hmm.
And, some people have that thing with business or with social interactions but with those spiritual insights that are coming, it's so important because we usually just miss them, you
Yes.
know? They're coming. I always say, like, we have downloads coming all the time and we don't realize it. We don't calm down and get quiet. We don't leave space, even when and so then it has to get louder and louder, 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 louder until it smacks us on the head.
Hmm.
And so, I always say the number one skill, the number one superpower on planet Earth for evolving is just being observant,
Yes.
you know?
I say awareness, like having that awareness. And I mean, they parallel. It's the same concept, and that's what it is.
I, um, I had a similar, it just made me think, and I know we're wrapping up soon, but with you and at home with the kids. And my wife and I both travel for work, but her much more. She's a performer and she was on tour we're based in London, but she was touring in the US with her band for about 4 months. I was watching our young ones and that happens for chunks of time. And I'm a good dad and I got a system and it works. But a little bit of it creeps in, kind of like, gosh, why am I doing all this? And why am I doing? And I remember thinking, let's take a new approach to this. Let's just look at why this is. I always say to people, when something really difficult happens to you, say the phrase, why is this exactly what I needed?
Oh, I love it. I got chills.
Yeah. And, people always go, huh? But then it's amazing what comes to you. Because my kids are in school now. So in the middle of the day, they go to school. And when my week is here, it's fun and it's active, but I don't have as much quiet time. So I was like, wow, I have all this quiet time. And I really had to create several online courses that I never had the time to create. I mean, tons of videos and I thought, wow, now I have that time and I have this time to do this and this and this and this. And I had a lot of spiritual stuff I had to download and shift. I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
So I said, this is exactly what I need. And when I shifted that, all kinds of stuff shifted with me and my wife, big shifts with me and my wife because of that. And I just accepted it. And then it's amazing because once you accept those things, then you very quickly don't need them anymore. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I don't, so it was amazing. And then she came back and then I had all this free time and whatever.
I
So I
love,
feel you.
yeah, I love that you share that too, because it brings in that subconscious. Maybe there was a block. Maybe there was obviously something you kept getting the repeated patterns until the awareness, the observation, the perspective shift. I'll share
Yeah.
something very quickly too. I'm getting over being sick. I like dodged it all holiday season, and I succumbed to the sickness. And I swear, I told my husband this last night. I go, Jameson, I'm like, there's something I need to work on here because every time I get sick, like something else happens and I can't rest. My husband threw his back out at work. He works construction. He threw his back out at work the day after I got sick. So I'm like, I can't rest. And it's always, I'm like, it's always something. Why is it always something? But like what you said, it's like, okay, why is this exactly what I needed? And we were just having that conversation and he's laughing. So I'm like, you're either on a hunting trip, states away, and I'm with the kids and I'm sick, or I'm like, it's all whenever I get sick, there's always like, is this like something like I don't know how to rest? But I'm like, I don't have, so yeah, it's like that big, it was so funny. Oh my gosh. But yes, like, why is this exactly what I needed?
Yeah. And if you don't, if you don't say that, and if you don't have that ability to perspective shift and say, now let's just look at this, then it creates so much stress and resentment. And
Yeah.
then you're just caught up in all that, you know? And so yeah, that's really, really helped me. Yeah, this one magical woman named Joy Palmer, I haven't seen her in many years, helped me in my difficult years. And she said that to me one time. I was having an catastrophically bad day. And I told her what had happened on these sort of astral planes. And she just giggled and smiled and said, why is that exactly what you needed? But I just thought, oh, she's a master.
Yeah.
And it's just completely changed. And I went, yeah, and it's just amazing. Your physiology, your biochemistry, your spirit, everything. You were probably doubled in size in that moment. So, and I always say to my students, my college students, much more important than having the right answers is asking good questions.
Yeah.
Because when you ask good questions, your subconscious and your conscious just start devising all these wonderful things, because questions shift your focus.
So beautiful. And it's profound. It's absolutely profound. And thank you for sharing that because I will also take that home with me every time. It's all in the perspective. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, Greg, where can we find you? Tell us about, where we could find you, connect with you, support you.
I live in London. My website is theplanetdoctor.com, all spelled out, no dashes, no dots, just theplanetdoctor.com. That's actually my federally registered trademark, so no one can call himself that.
Love it.
Very excited. And Instagram at the Planet Doctor. Those are the best ways to find me. On my website, there's a bunch of free stuff. There's a little thing you can fill out to find your blind spot, and probably, frankly, if people come to me and I think you could help them, I could refer them on to you because we could probably do some synergistic work. So if you're listening and you feel like you could be helped by both of us, that would be great.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I have a YouTube channel as well that's developing, but it's all found through my website, theplanetdoctor.com.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing that free resource with blind spots because again, sometimes it's like, okay, blind spot, you're not aware of it. So helping, really acknowledge, become observant, become aware of what those blind spots are. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a 60 question form, And it really becomes clear as you're answering these questions, like, wow, it's this, or it's this, or it's this.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, so that's my approach, and I'm happy to give that to anyone. And it just it makes shifts on its own.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your time and your space and being here today. And I cannot wait to listen back myself to this episode and share everything in the show notes to where to find you and support you. So thank you.
Thank you. You have again, as I said before we got on, a beautiful business, a great vibe. Your family's wonderful, beautiful, and this is like a therapy session for both of us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's really nice. It's healing. You gave me some good ideas, and I hope you got some good ones. And it's beautiful. And then everyone benefits from that because they hear what strikes us about the other, and they go, "Oh, that
Yes.
must be." So anyway, you're very welcome, and thank you as well.
Oh, I have one more thing to say now. That just brought something up. If you have a minute,
Of course.
have you ever heard of expander energy?
No.
Okay, so when you said that, because very much so, it's always good to find like you being the healer, you being like in that space to find your compliments and people, colleagues, whatever you want to call it. And I was listening, I forget the podcast episode, but she said expand her energy. She was sharing a very big milestone that she reached. But she's like, don't find yourself in a state of jealousy or resentment to where I'm at. Because how I'm speaking to you, I'm giving you this energy, this expander energy. Allow yourself to take it in and allow it to inspire you or, motivate you, encourage you. And that just really resonated with me. But it just like being in that space with someone else too. Like I am so thankful that, for this conversation. And I agree with you, just receiving that healing ourselves. And yeah, just very beautiful. I just felt called to share that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And we forget to do it because we're helping people all the time, and that's our calling, and that's what feels good.
Yeah.
But sort of like having the helpers help each other,
Yeah.
important. It really recharges you.
Hmm.
But I like that. I learned a new term, expander energy.
Yeah, and I took it in a different context of what she was saying to like you and I, driving back and forth to be able to, expand it to each other, but also to our listeners. It's divine.
Well, I look forward to listening to it as well and to see how you put it together. So this has been really great.
Thank you so much. And again, to our listeners, you have a wonderful day. And as always, simply be you. You have everything inside of you to learn your energy of alignment and be unapologetic in who you are. We're sending our love and light.
Did you find this episode free or empowering? Please read my review. Tickle, 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 boop.
Thank you for spending the sacred time with me on Naturally Empowered Living. If this episode brought you closer to stepping into your energy of alignment, I'd love for you to leave a written review and share how this show has supported your journey. Your feedback truly lights me up and helps others find the space of transformation. And sharing it with someone who might need it spreads the ripple of healing even further. Be sure to check the show notes for ways to connect with me and explore personalized healing sessions and mentorships to deepen your self-awakening journey. Thank you. I appreciate all you are and all you do.